This episode of Brokerage in Motion was brought to you by Simplicity Group.
Hello and welcome to Brokerage in Motion, your one-stop guide to everything happening in independent distribution. I'm Katie Falinger. In industry headlines, NAILBA and Finseca have announced their intent to explore a merger. The move would result in stronger brokerage distribution, accelerate efforts to reunify the profession, and ultimately uplift its overall significance. We will have much more on this big announcement throughout the show. NAILBA is also pleased to announce its 2022 Board of Directors Chair, John Gilbert. Gilbert spent 2 decades working in the industry, currently as president at the National Benefit Corp, and has long been active in NAILBA as part of the board, as well as receiving the Chairman's Award in 2017. Congratulations, John. We look forward to your leadership. In acquisition news, Integrity Marketing Group has announced it has acquired Lion Street, a national network of agencies and professionals providing life insurance, wealth management, and financial planning solutions to high net worth clients. The strategic partnership is designed to optimize insurance and financial processes and create innovative solutions that help protect American consumers. More acquisition news. Highland Capital Brokerage has announced the acquisitions of Hallett Financial Group, an independent insurance brokerage agency, and Quotacy, an insurtech firm and Hallett Financial's sister company. The move will enable Highland Capital to scale its business while expanding the segments of the life insurance and annuity markets the company currently serves. In other news, some positive numbers. U.S. life insurance application activity finished 2021 with annual year-over-year growth up 3.4%. That's according to the U.S. MIB Life Index. This is now the second consecutive year of growth, following 2020's record-breaking 3.9% increase. And new leadership at Transamerica. Wendy Boyd has been appointed head of life distribution for Transamerica's Individual Solutions division. In her new role, Boyd will be responsible for sales strategy and execution across a broad portfolio of life insurance solutions. Boyd brings more than 30 years of expertise, most recently at Lincoln Financial Group. If you have any carrier or industry announcements or news to share, we would love to hear about it. Feel free to email us at info@nailba.org.
Happy New Year, Finseca members. I'm so excited to be joined by my good friend, Dan LaBert, CEO of NAILBA. As many of you saw earlier this week, we announced Finseca and NAILBA an intent to explore a merger as part of the effort to reunify the profession and bring these two great institutions together. So Dan, let me turn to you and just, maybe gives the Finseca members some perspective about why NAILBA's board voted unanimously to take this step.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to be here. These are definitely exciting times. As I said on stage at NAILBA 40, we want to look forward to where we're going, but never forget where we've been. And I think it's important that the viewers get a chance just to know a little bit about NAILBA and how we were formed, but more importantly, the update that was given by Douglas Moores in 2006. And he said, in September 1981, the time was ripe and the seeds were planted to create NAILBA. And why did they create NAILBA? They wanted to get a bigger seat at the table when industry leaders gathered. They wanted to get a more powerful seat at the table when interacting with our carrier partners, and candidly become more of a professional group of agencies to share ideas, laughs, and continue that NAILBA spirit and that NAILBA family. Doug ended his speech by saying, NAILBA has earned a leadership position with the industry. Now that was 2006, Mark, and as you know, NAILBA's grown from there, but unprecedented times give rise to ample opportunities. And this is now a time for our profession where they're just, we need a stronger collective voice. And, the potential tax changes, the threats to the industry remain, the threats to the profession remain. This is not going to go away. And having a unified voice is just simply the way to achieve what Doug Moore said in 2006. And when you look at expecting influence to drive better outcomes and having greater relevance across the profession, This will advance the cause of financial security for all, which is the mission of Finseca. And that's why NAILBA voted unanimously to be part of this movement forward.
Well, Dan, it's so well said. And from a Finseca standpoint, there's just no question that, not only have you done an extraordinary job with NAILBA, I was at NAILBA 40. It was the best NAILBA meeting I've ever been to in my 20 plus years representing this profession. But there's no question that as we think about the history of Finseca, Gamma represented those career agency leaders. ALU represented producer groups and the top producers. And NAILBA is the leader of the brokerage and independent marketplace. There's just no question about it. And if we can bring all of the best and brightest from within all segments of distribution, there's no question, as you said, that we can get better outcomes on behalf of this noble profession. We know there aren't enough people with enough life insurance. We got a $12 trillion protection gap. We know there's a retirement savings crisis in this country. And, what we also know is that having a whole bunch of smaller, different organizations with different messages and competing value propositions and inefficiencies, we know that we can do better. And so I'm just so grateful for the leadership, Dan, that you and the NAILBA board and the Finseca board have supplied to this, because I think that we have the ability to produce better outcomes with greater scale and greater efficiency for this noble profession. So as we think around the corner now, we made the announcement, Dan. What's next?
Well, first, NAILBA being part of your leadership, Bonnie's leadership, the fabulous board of directors for Finseca, we wanted to be part of trailblazing that path forward, right? We have to look different where we're going if we want to have that relevance and influence. But you know what? Part of having that relevance and influence is having a collaborative process moving forward. NAILBA is going to announce, we've already announced the dates of 4 listening tours. There may be more added. We want to hear from the NAILBA members. We want to hear from the Finseca members. We want to hear from our carrier partners. We want to have everyone be engaged in this because it's vital to closing the gap on the uninsured and underinsured. We cannot have financial security for all without a collaborative process, and it will start with the listening tours. So I'm excited to hear the feedback, but I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. The feedback already has been fantastic.
It's just been extraordinary, really. And I think that, we're going to have listening tours, Dan, as you said, for the Finseca members, for the NAILBA members. And we're just really excited to continue the process, to hear from our members collectively, to calibrate accordingly, to make sure that we're preserving communities, right? The brokerage community, the career leader community, the advanced markets community. We got to preserve those communities and what makes people and respect what makes aspects of the profession different, having separate meetings because that's important for the communities. But then we're going to have the ability to bring people together around issues of common importance. So on behalf of the entire organization, not just Finseca, but NAILBA as well, we're excited to hear from you. Please let us know your thoughts because, again, this is your organization and we're just stewards helping serve your cause. So thank you, Dan, for joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
Have a great day.
We are going to take just a short break. Don't go anywhere. There's more Brokerage in Motion coming up.
Diabetes is just one of the many unique and colorful details that make your clients who they are. It doesn't define them, and it shouldn't keep them from getting the life insurance they deserve. Introducing John Hancock Aspire, the first and only life insurance designed for people living with diabetes.
Time now for our IDY segment, where we shine the spotlight on the people that make up independent distribution. So many in this industry have a personal connection to it that drives them. And this NAILBA member is no different, having been forced to face his own mortality, not once, but twice.
I was so lost. I wasn't even sure if I was on the road anymore that I started on. And that was the critical moment where I literally laid down on the soft sand and really did some soul searching about why did I get myself into this.
A road trip gone horribly wrong. Back in 2011, Chuck Anderson found himself lost in the middle of the desert.
Before I knew it, I figured out I was going the wrong way.
Trusting his GPS, Chuck tried to get back on track. What he didn't know,
if you go on to Google and type in Death by Garmin or Garmin Death Valley, there's a lot of people that have gotten lost in the Death Valley area. It's kind of like the Bermuda Triangle. The further I went, the more desolate it became. Finally, after driving for quite a while and realizing how lost I was, I did pull over. I was thinking I'm going to get myself organized here. And sure enough, when I went to start the car again, it would not start.
And so he started walking. After more than 20 miles with no sign of civilization, no water, and poor reception on a phone that was losing battery, a ray of hope.
I finally saw lights on the horizon, and I zeroed in on those lights and kept walking.
Chuck made it out safely. But just 10 years later, in 2021, another scare when he was diagnosed with lung cancer.
A never smoker with a tumor that was growing rapidly in my right lung. I had one of the best cancer recovery stories that you can have, where they got the cancer out, didn't need chemo or radiation.
Facing mortality twice over, experiences that have filled Chuck with gratitude. That he can still spend summers swimming and winters sledding with his grandkids. But he also felt relief, knowing his family would be protected, no matter what happened.
It just really taught me the importance of planning, and that when you come that close, it was just the peace of mind that our products provide is just so important.
Chuck's always recognized the value of life insurance. He spent 40 years in the industry, beginning at Prudential in 1981 and helping to launch the company's efforts in the independent space. From there, time at Securian Financial, to now as the National Sales Director for Diversified Brokerage Services.
I feel like I'm in a role now that really leverages my strengths, but also lets me do the things that I like to do with people, with our products, and being part of a great industry.
All the ingredients for a rewarding job, but it's not all work and no play. Of course, we could not have this discussion and not talk about NAILBA Rockstar. You're definitely a karaoke aficionado. What began as Prudential Idol, then Prudential Rockstar, to now NAILBA Rockstar, Chuck and several other colleagues have helped bring the party to NAILBA's annual meeting for years.
Why not have fun? I've always loved music, and I think probably the most fulfilling part of the NAILBA Rockstar event is friendships and relationships that you have in the NAILBA community. It's really like family.
Family, friends, fun, fulfillment, and good fortune. All important values that Chuck hopes to pay forward.
I've always used the mantra, low ego, no drama, and big impact. And I think one of the things I learned, and when you go through a experience like surviving cancer, is to really put things in perspective. I really believe in the protection that life insurance provides. So that is a driving force for me.
And right now I'm joined by CEO Dan LaBert. And Dan, big news that NAILBA has announced an intent to merge with Finseca. So how did this all come about? And also, why is it the right move to be exploring a merger?
Well, what an exciting way to kick off 2022, right? I mean, we just come off celebrating 40 years of NAILBA. We had a phenomenal annual meeting, and the engagement around NAILBA is at an all-time high. So, right, that's a great question. Why now? And I think it comes from 18 months of due diligence of a task force meeting monthly, sometimes twice a month. So it was a lot of things were looked at. And we just came to the conclusion that financial security for all is a unified mission that the entire space should embrace. And NAILBA represents such a large portion of financial security. It made sense to partner with a group like Finseca because that is where financial security for all could be found. That is their core mission statement. We believe in it. As we work through the process and discuss parameters like governance and bylaws and membership, it just grew an overwhelming excitement of the resources that NAILBA could deliver to its member agencies when partnered with a first-class organization like Finseca. So there was no shortage of meetings. There was no shortage of discussion. Like everything came up, and which is great. And we're going to be sharing more and more of that as people ask. But it was a great opportunity to look at the value prop of each organization, the relationships we have with our carrier partners and our tech partners, and talk about the bigger why. The bigger why of we are better together than we are apart. And candidly, I came into this space out of the accounting world, the legal world, the beer world, all different types of associations. We are way too fractured. We will never have a unified voice with so many voices. If you look at other industries or other professions, they have a unified voice. And when it comes time to march up the steps, either in your local state capital or in Washington, D.C., a unified voice, a strong unified voice is how you protect, defend, and advance your membership. And it was clear that the people around the table at Finseca and NAILBA, we identified those opportunities, and we are excited.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of the membership is really curious what this is going to mean for the NAILBA member agencies. What stays the same? What changes?
That's the question that has come up the most since our announcement on January 4th. And I got to say, the feedback from the January 4th announcement has been through the roof. I mean, I was expecting there to be some positive feedback, some of the usual suspects, hey, this is great. But the individuals from the C-suite on down to team heads and just people that have watched the space for a while, the feedback has been tremendous. So I actually was surprised by it. So that's great. But the number one question keeps coming up, especially on the NAILBA side, is, hey, what's in this for my agency? I may not be an advocacy agency, or I may not be an annual meeting agency. And those things you have to say, you're not an advocacy kind of person until advocacy impacts you. And you want to know who's protecting you and who's doing that. And a unified voice between Finseca and NAILBA will be protecting all of brokerage as legislative or regulatory challenges appear. But I think the easy way to answer that question is you could just take the member benefits of being a NAILBA member right now and look at the member benefits of members in Finseca, and for the most part, combine them. And that's more than a NAILBA member agency has ever got. There's everything there for you as of right now if we take that approach. Now, obviously, that's casting a wide net. We're going to be much more strategic on figuring out what are the best member benefits for each agency. And then we're going to share that as we move throughout this process. So on the surface, it's exciting because there's professional development at an all-time level. There's advocacy, first-class advocacy at an all-time level. There's, of course, the NAILBA current member benefits and what we're working on. So right there, just on the surface, there's a lot more than we've ever been able to offer. But now we have a bench of professionals and resources and just a collaborative spirit to ensure that return on membership investment. I'm excited about that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you're going to be doing some listening tours on this. So can you talk about the timeline on that and give a bit more detail on that?
Right. So as of February, and you can check NAILBA.org, there are opportunities for members, partners to participate on listening tours that will take place with via Zoom, and both myself and the Finseca CEO, Marc Cadin, and some members of the NAILBA Finseca task force will be there. We want this to be a two-way street, a transparent process. We want to hear the feedback because, when you get inside something, you get all excited, right? And you want to roll this out and you think it's going to be the greatest thing ever since penicillin. And then you realize we missed something, right? Mm-hmm. There's enough experience out there that we want to avoid that as best as possible. So I think getting the feedback, having the open forums where people could listen to our presentation and then ask questions. And this is really for members in particular. I'm sure there'll be others who can listen in, and we welcome that because we want to demonstrate just how powerful this unification will be. But those listening tours will be a transparent process. And then, of course, Dan LaBert on the roadshow, right? You've been on that roadshow as well, where NAILBA is in sight, on person at various IMO meetings. So they'll be in person, they'll be via Zoom, and of course, I'm always accessible to NAILBA member agencies, so we'll welcome that. But yes, listening tours are the next big part of the intent to merge. So check out NAILBA.org and RSVP for your time to once again Zoom with us.
Some great information, Dan. Thank you so much. This is going to be a very exciting year and a very busy one for you, I think.
It is, and we're excited.
That is going to do it for this episode of Brokerage in Motion. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Leading the financial planning business, Simplicity Group is proud to support its distribution partners, advisors, and consumers with industry education and long-term consumer value. Step into the future with Simplicity Group. Visit simplicitygroup.com for more information.